Just putting that there so you didn't forget. But also because I keep forgetting to actually hang it on the wall. Hiya. Viking and Nordic Norse stuff has been dominating the media space for the past few years now. It used to be zombies. Now we've moved on to Vikings. I don't know. Don't ask me. Some Viking theme shows play with history, and that's fine. Some Viking shows completely disregard it altogether. That's also fine, I guess. But The Last Kingdom is a good bit half and half. Kingsmill 50-50, if you will. So today, I want to take a look at Uhtred and his pretty boys.
Uhtred and his pretty boys.
Because Uhtred was real. Don't know about his boys. Right enough. Now this has already been covered by many larger channels, and I respect that. But I love a good bandwagon to jump on, so we're doing it full force. But I'll leave the links to those videos in the description below, as well as on my bibliography, because we love that. To describe some of these characters as well, I will use photos from the telly programme. Forgive me for that, okay? Thanks. Obviously, they're not real. I don't have a time machine. But anyway, let's jump on down to Bebbanburg. Other than the name, there's really not much similar between telly Uhtred and real life Uhtred. We're absolutely not going to do a full compare and contrast job. I think that's very boring, but I'll mention it when I see fit, okay, if there's little bits and bobs. Also maybe minor spoiler warning for the telly programme, but it's been out for ages. When it comes to the early life of our very real Uhtred, we don't know much. Sorry, that's it. Roll the credits. We don't know much. Bye, thanks for watching. He was probably born around AD 970-ish, but we know that he definitely died in AD 1016. We know that for sure. Uhtred came from a long line of warrior kings who ruled from Bebbanburg. Now, Bambra, if you've heard of Bambra Castle, same place. Ida, the flame bearer of Bernicia, or Bernicia? I'm not sure how you say that one. Ida the flame bearer was the first of Uhtred's line to rule from Bebbanburg, Bambra, around about the 550s AD. And we don't know much about his life because he lived during a time known as the British Dark Ages. No! Now, this period is now known as early medieval England in other names. It was called the Dark Ages because there's a lack, or at least at the time it was named as, there was a lack of written evidence and material evidence from the time, hence it was like archaeologically, historically dark, because we just didn't know what happened, right? This is not the only Dark Ages to ever occur in time. It happens all over the place where we in the present day are looking back and we lack evidence for a specific time. For example, in Greece, after the fall of the Mycenaeans to the start of the rise of Athens and eventually getting you towards classical Greece as everyone kind of knows it. This sort of dark age occurs when, usually after there's like a switch in power or some sort of power struggle, some sort of conflict, major civilization collapsing and a new one rising. In Uhtred's case, this would have been around AD 410 when the Roman Empire withdrew from Britain. And then we sort of don't really know what happened to Britain once they left. We know bits, but not enough. Of course, life carried on. People just continued on with their lives. But for us looking back, it's archaeologically dark, if that makes sense. But obviously calling it the Dark Ages doesn't really work, because then in the future, if you end up finding more evidence, it's no longer dark. So, think about that one. And overall, it was a time of instability. England had been united. Alfred's dream of a united England had came true. It was kind of united, but there were still a lot of rivalries between the kingdoms, because obviously it was still quite fresh in people's minds. Especially big Saxon and Dane divides, and also North and South divides. North and South divides? No way! No way the North doesn't get on with the South in Britain. Are you kidding? No way, I don't believe you. Even the kingdom of Northumbria was made up of two smaller kingdoms, Bernicia and Deira? Hold on. Yeah, Deira. Sorry, I forgot how to say that there. Coming back to Uhtred, he eventually became the ealdorman of the entirety of Northumbria and York as well. But how did he rise to power? Come down here, guys. Come down a wee bit so you can still see my certificate. Even though it's at a canted angle, That's one from my media folks out there. You can still see it. Okay. From what we can tell, Uhtred was first documented in the historical record in AD 995. Sorry for saying AD before everything. It's just archaeology brain. I'm used to saying BC after things, AD before things. Sorry, I'm not a medieval historian, so it actually makes a difference to me. Just to make sure we're not in the BCs, guys. Come on, keep up. But he was first recorded in AD 995 when he oversaw the construction of a cathedral in Durham and helped clear space for it to be made, and also oversaw the manoeuvring of the remains of St Cuthbert to then be placed inside this new cathedral. As a gift, I guess, a gift of thanks, he was allowed to marry the daughter of the bishop of said cathedral of Durham, Bishop Aldhun of Durham. Can we bring back medieval names, please? There's so many good names that I found in my research that I'm like, why did we pass that one up? Why have we now got boring names? I mean, not my name. My name's really cool, actually. The next sort of mention that we get of him isn't until AD 1006, when Malcolm II, King of Scotland, invaded Northumbria and besieged Durham. Uhtred's dad was in charge at the time at Bebbanburg. He was far too old to actually go riding into battle and help. King Ethelred the Unready was far too busy with other stuff going on in his life. Lots of things, it seems. And suspiciously enough, Elfhelm of York didn't want to help him. Therefore, it was left to Uhtred to gather the Northumbrian forces to go and help Durham, to go and sort Malcolm out. And he did precisely that. After defeating Malcolm's forces at Durham, I believe Malcolm escaped back into Scotland. And because of Uhtred's prowess and bravery in battle, he became known as Uhtred the Bold. This was his major sort of rising to power moment. Ethelred was so chuffed with him that he promoted him above his father Waltheof, while his dad, yes, he was elderly, but he was still alive, which is a very, weird, rare situation for that to happen. But he was old, right? He was old. Give the guy a break. Ethelred also gave Uhtred York after Alfhelm of York, who didn't come to help, turned up dead. And people assume that it was Ethelred that had him murdered. But obviously, we cannot confirm or deny this. Maybe I, maybe no. Therefore, henceforth, forthwith, I don't think any of them work in this situation, Uhtred was known as Uhtred the Bold, Ealdorman of Northumbria. The drama started occurring in 1013 AD, Anno Domini, Common Era, that's what I should really be saying, sorry. But the drama started occurring in 1013 when Sweyn Forkbeard, King of Denmark, invaded England. Forkbeard made his way to London and was hailed as king whilst Ethelred, our unready boy, was forced into exile. And this put Uhtred in quite a sticky situation, right? Let me paint the picture for you so you can sort of understand. After marrying the bishop's daughter, Uhtred then remarried to a Dane woman for alliance reasons within the north being quite heavily Danelaw, but it was also a place where Saxons and Danes lived alongside each other in peace and harmony, kind of. It wasn't as bad as the south, where there was still a very, very big divide. So he'd already remarried for an alliance with the Danes he was essentially surrounded by up in Northumbria, right? And Forkbeard wanted Uhtred's allegiance, being a Saxon in a heavily Dane-dominated area, which presented Uhtred with a very tricky choice. Ally himself with this new Danish king. He's already pretty sound and in with the Danes, so, he's got his wife, he's surrounded by Danes. If he says no, that puts him in quite a bath of hot water. If he says no and maintains his loyalty to Ethelred's in exile. He's surrounded by Danes. His wife's a Dane. He's probably going to get killed for not changing his loyalty, really, and they'll just replace him with someone who will favour the Danes, and life will go on with no Uhtred. But also, Ethelred essentially built his career and promoted Uhtred to Ealdorman and whatnot, and it was because Ethelred needed his help that Uhtred was able to rise to that sort of power position. So he had a lot of conflicting loyalties going on. So he swears his allegiance to Sweyn Forkbeard. What a name, by the way. For 2 months. Because Sweyn died on the 2nd of February 1014. the Witan called for Ethelred the Unready to come back from his exile. Are you kidding? But Uhtred kind of smoothly transitioned back into his good graces. I mean, I guess it would have been awkward. So in this way, it is sort of the same as the telly, whereas Uhtred, in the telly version, he's struggling with like his familial loyalties, being born Saxon, raised Dane. In real history, real tangible history, it was more either be loyal to the guy who helped me get my position or be loyal to the new guy and not die. Sweyn's son Canute was also in England, but swiftly fled back to Denmark after the death of his dad with a few of his men. Not all of them, but some of them. But remember his name because he's important for later. Thank you. To re-solidify this awkwardly now made alliance with Ethelred, Uhtred remarries again. This time to Ethelred's daughter. I need to read her name off the paper because it looks weird. It's pronounced Elfgift, I believe, but it's written Elfgifu. I love that. I love that. Imagine a teacher trying to read that off a register in this day and age. They got my name wrong on multiple occasions. Never mind that. I love it. But also Uhtred became quite pally with Ethelred's son, Edmund Ironside. Because they would go off to little battles together and they became really good pals. And life goes on, as if nothing awkward really happened between them. And now he's married to his daughter. He's best pals with his son. Although he was just like, for 2 months, he was like, nah, I don't like you, mate. Mate, I don't like you. Awkward might be sugarcoating it a wee bit. But hey ho, that was the Dark Ages, baby. That Canute, eh? Ha 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 ha! Years go by. It's now 1016. Uhtred was in Cheshire with Edmund Ironside, Ethelred's son. Because now they're besties, going off to wee battles to defend Wessex. And while they're away, fighting together, little fighting besties, Canute returns and invades Yorkshire. By the time news has travelled and reached Uhtred of Canute's return, there's not enough time for him to wrap up this one wee battle he's got going on over here in Cheshire and make it all the way back to defend Bebbanburg. There's no way it's going to happen, right? So what do you think he does? Again. Uhtred once again switches alliances. Despite literally being at a battle with Edmund Ironside. He's like, oh, sorry bestie, I need to let you go. I have a new one. I have a new bestie. Because I don't want to lose my home. Canute, who was being hailed as the great king of England and sort of made his way through Yorkshire pretty unopposed, that's the word I'm looking for, because the north was so heavily Danelaw, he didn't really have much opposition. It really didn't help as well that at the same time Ethelred was besieged in London and died. So Uhtred's changed his alliance and Canute's went, you know what? Okay, but you have to come and visit me in person to swear this alliance and like we can meet and have a wee chat, have a wee cup of tea. So Uhtred went. He actually was like, yeah, okay, I'll go. Are you mad? On their way, they were ambushed by Thurbrand the Hold on Canute's orders. It's all the drama, Mick. I just love it. Again, that's a wee bit similar to the telly programme, if you know what I mean. Oh, sorry, that's also a bit similar to the telly programme. Spoiler coming up here, because Canute's in the telly programme and all, by the way. Completely different set of people, but Canute sets up an alliance with Heston, Bloodhair, and Ragnar. On Canute's orders, little Ethelwald kills Ragnar and starts a whole bunch of shenanigans so that Canute can be like the sole ruler of the Danes. Anyway, like I say, they just sort of very loosely were like, Canute can do that, but to a completely different group of people in a slightly different time frame, you know? That's what I mean by they play with the history a lot. So don't take telly programmes at face value all the time, folks. And that was the end of Uhtred and 40 of his men, but not the end for his family. Uhtred's death triggered a 3 generations long blood feud between his family and the family of Thurbrand the Hold. Pens at the ready, prepare yourself for bloodshed, going back and forth. I might need to make a graph for this just to make sure I'm not pure getting confused or confusing you. I'm so sorry. In 1024, Uhtred's son Ealdred killed your man Thurbrand. Right, so Uhtred's dead, now Thurbrand's dead. Ealdred is alive for now. A few years later, Thurbrand's son Karl kills Uhtred's son Ealdred. Then quite a few years later, Uhtred's great-grandson, Waltheof, named after his great-great-granddad, I assume, in 1074 kills the majority of Thorbrand and Karl's male offspring. Just goes mad. Uhtred's family then ruled in Northumbria until 1066, when they were forced out by new Norman lords with the whole Norman conquest thing. Yeah, I mean, that whole thing. Today, Bamborough and its surroundings would be absolutely unrecognisable to Uhtred and anybody in his sort of immediate family. But lucky for him, he's been memorialised and sensationalised in TV, film, and also book, by the way. The telly show is based on a book. The whole debacle with Knut and the swaying alliances and things like that are sort of similar to the real history, but, you know, it doesn't always have to be incredibly accurate, and that's okay. My voice is not quivering when I say that, but that's okay. Fun fact though, Bernard Cornwell, who wrote the books that the Last Kingdom telly show is based off of, the original books, there's loads of them. I really want to read them, but Jesus Christ, there is loads of them. He is actually a descendant of Uhtred. I read somewhere, I'll leave it linked down below, I can't remember the name of the site where I read it just now, is an interview with Bernard Cornwell himself. Cromwell? No, not Cromwell. Cornwell, Jesus. I believe he was adopted in his original last name, or like his name pre-adoption. What would you call that? A dead name? Is that technically a dead name? But the name he had before his current one, his last name was Uhtred, or something like that, which is one of those last names that literally translate to son of Uhtred. Insert Uhtred, son of Uhtred, Uhtred, son of Uhtred, Uhtred, son of Uhtred joke here.
My name is Uhtred, son of Uhtred.
Uhtred, son of Uhtred.
I am Uhtred, son of Uhtred.
Is the son of another Uhtred and another.
In addition to that incredibly cool information about the author, now we're getting back into my field, right? Now we're getting back into the archaeology of it. Okay? Don't know why. Who am I fighting? Excavations from 1998 to 2007 have discovered a grave site very nearby in the sand dunes outside of Bamborough. These are graves of men, women and children with incredibly high status goods. Also using like the analysis, this is where it gets a bit heavy into the science bit for me. Isotope analysis from teeth. I could do a whole separate video on the graves and the skeletons and stuff, by the way, because it's incredibly interesting. Early Christian / overlapping pagan sort of burial rituals and rites, because it obviously was early Christian, it was quite new at the time. Anyway, the bodies are all incredibly healthy except for their teeth, which sort of indicates wealth again, because they were in good health, but their teeth were rubbish because they were eating all the sweeties. They were eating all the rich people's sweets. I remember learning about this at uni, but honestly it was right over my head. Isotope analysis from teeth, you can track where someone has grown up and where people have lived and what they've eaten, obviously, but like even as far as babies forming in their mother's wombs, like that's when it sort of starts. So you can track all sorts of things, and even just thinking about it's making my head hurt, to be honest. But it's very, very cool. I would do a full video on it, but I don't think I could do it justice because I will have a breakdown. Sorry, back to these graves. They date to pre-Uhtred, but he would have surely known about this cemetery. They could be his family. The archaeologists have suggested that the gravesite could continue further under the sand dunes, but they haven't got to that bit yet. Excavating's difficult and a lot of hard work, okay? The gravesite possibly extends further into the sand. Could Uhtred be in there somewhere? If there's, a sort of later dated part, could he be there somewhere? Leave your thoughts in the comments, please. I would love to hear what you have to say. If you're a medieval historian or medieval archaeologist, feel free to correct me. I'm an ancient gal. This is too modern for me. Thank you all so much for watching. Go and watch The Last Kingdom if you haven't already. I highly recommend it. And there's the film, Seven Kings Must Die. I've not watched the film yet, but I will before this video comes out so that no one in the comments can try and spoil it for me. Okay. And read the original books, of course, while you're there. Just consume all of the media at once. Pop any questions you have in the comments or any discussion points. I would love to hear back from you. Or if you're an archaeologist willing to explain the teeth isotopes thing better than I can, go ahead, fire it in the comments, because you'd be doing me a massive favour, mate. As I've mentioned on multiple occasions, my bibliography is always linked in the description box below if you would like some further reading. The best way to let me know if you like the video is to hit the like button, and also leave a comment and let me know what other sort of topics or people from history you'd like me to cover, if anyone. if anything. If you think I should stop, too bad. See you next Tuesday, and remember, destiny is all.
Destiny is all.